Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'll be comparing the Nexus 5X, which is on your right hand side, with the Moto X Style, which is on your left hand side. Now those of you who follow me, you must know that I had these phones for a few weeks now, and I have made several videos on both the phones, so if you want to see them guys, please do check my channel out. However, in this video we'll be doing a quick comparison and discussing the pros and cons as to which phone is better than the other, and why would you prefer this over this, or the Moto X over the Nexus 5X. We'll be discussing the build quality, performance, screen quality, battery life, camera and specs, and whatever else we could in this time whilst I'm shooting this video. So first of all guys, let's first of all start off things with the build quality. Now on the Nexus 5X, which was recently released by Google, the build quality, I have to admit, is not the best. The phone has this nice ceramic finish, this matte finish at the back from plastic. Even though it's quite refined and it's quite well made, still at times in certain areas I think they could have done better, but then obviously cost was the factor. So it's not as premiumly built as, say for instance, an Nexus 6P or an HTC, or even the Moto X, which I'll show you in just a moment. So if you look at this phone very carefully guys, it is fully made from plastic. Even the frame surrounding the phone all the way across is also made from plastic as well, so no sign of metal or aluminium anywhere on the phone. And at times at the back when I'm holding the phone guys, I do hear this cracking sound. I'll keep quiet for a few seconds and press this bit here, and maybe you might be able to hear the cracking sound. There you go guys. As you can see, at times in certain areas you do hear this cracking sound, but then again I only paid $299 for this phone. This is the 16 gig version, by the way. It also comes in a 32 gig version, but in general the build quality I would say is about average. It's not too bad for the money, but they could have certainly done it a bit better, especially when you see other phones out in the market these days. When it comes to in-hand feel guys, this is where I think plastic phones and phones with matte finish are a bit more better than the premiumly built made phones. Most aluminium and metal phones tend to slip out of your hands, whereas this phone I feel very comfortable in the hands because it's got this nice matte finish, and it grips to my hands very well. And because the size as well, it's only 5.2 inches. That's why I'm easily able to move my finger across, and going across to the phone is not a problem at all. So it's quite easy, nice, and I love the one hand feel, especially at times when you have all these big phones like the Moto X's and the HTCs and the Samsung Galaxies and Notes. At times sometimes you feel as if you need a smaller phone. So in-hand feel on this phone I would say is brilliant. If you're the sort of person who doesn't like big phones and you want something which is grippy and you don't want to put a case on it, I think Nexus 5 is definitely a good buy for that. Also, the Nexus 5X has a fingerprint scanner at the back guys, unlike the Moto X, which hasn't got the fingerprint scanner. It's very fast, very efficient. I've done a dedicated video on this guys, so please do check it out on my channel. Now let's discuss the same with the Moto X Style guys. This phone is premiumly built, I can tell you straight away. Let's have a look around the frame first of all. This is a white, by the way, white and champagne color Moto X, and this comes with this metal frame, champagne frame surrounding the phone all the way across, top, bottom, left and right, so that adds a bit of class to it straight away, and it gives you that extra bit of weight as well. Now the screen is a 5.7 inch Quad HD as compared to the 5.2 inch Full HD, so that's why the phone is just slightly on the bigger side. I would say it's fairly big though. For those people who don't like big phones, you will probably need to use two hands at all times. Don't get me wrong, like I said guys, the phone is premiumly built. It's got this nice Moto dimple at the back along with the camera. All this is made from metal as well, and so is the metal frame surrounding the phone. And at the back here, this is the matte finish guys. It's got a bit of grip on it as well. As you can see, the texture is a bit rough. Let me just bring this close to the camera guys. As you can see, it's got a bit of rust texture, so it gives you a good grip, but still, if you're out and about, if your hands are dry, the metal frame will tend to slip from your hands and you might actually drop the phone. So what I would suggest is, because of the bigger size and the metal frame, please buy a case for this phone should you wish to buy this phone. So in-hand feel for the Moto is, like I said, it's a bit bigger. You probably end up using two hands as compared to the 5X, which can be easily used with one hand. But all in all, in build quality, I'll have to give this one to Moto X. But when it comes to in-hand feel, I would say Nexus 5X is a better phone for one-handed use. Okay, now let's discuss the camera guys. Nexus for the first time have actually raised the standard on their mobile phones for smartphone cameras. In the past, Nexus phones have always struggled with cameras photos guys, but I'm happy to report that this 12.3 megapixel camera is very good and especially tailored to design for low light performance. So what I'm going to do is guys, like always in my comparison videos, I will take a test sample and then we can compare both the photos and see which camera is better. This is on a 12.3 megapixel guys on 4:3 ratio. If I was to use a 16:9 ratio, I'll have to go down to 10 megapixels. So we'll stick it to the max and then we will take a photo, and there we go. So I've taken a photo here on this. I'll also make sure guys the maximum brightness is set up so that we can actually have a fair comparison with both the phones, even though the screen on this phone is only 1080p full HD as opposed to the Moto X, which has a quad HD screen. So let's take the same photo with the Moto X and see how it comes out. And the one thing I like about the Moto X is it's pretty fast, and you have the 16:9 angle, even though it's not on 21 megapixels at the moment, but I think it's around 16 or something like that, but still very, very good. Let's also increase the brightness on this as well to full brightness and see how the pictures come up guys. There we go. As you can see, let me hold both these phones in one hand if I possibly can, and then we can compare the photos together. Okay guys, same photo, same object, same distance. So let's have a quick look and see. If you look at the one on the Nexus 5X guys, let me just zoom in. There you go. It's pretty clear and the low light performance seems to be very, very nice as compared to the Moto X. Let's double zoom this in as well, and because it's got more megapixels, that's why it's able to produce slightly more detail in the photos. As you can see, let's bring the Moto X style guys. As you can see, very, very nice, and every single detail about the Andy the Android bot can be seen, and similarly you can see the same in this one as well. But as you can see guys, I think the details on the Moto X are slightly bit better than the Moto X. But if you look at the color of the table here carefully guys, you can see the color is a bit more got a bit more white on the Nexus 5X. The background here, the white table, as you can see, is a bit more prominent as compared to the one on Moto X. The Moto X whites are not as prominent, and this is where the Nexus 5X camera is slightly better when it comes to a low light performance in certain areas. Even though at times I've felt that the camera on the Moto X is a bit better because of higher megapixels, but if you're the kind of person who likes to take low light photos, then I was just going for the Nexus 5X. But don't get me wrong, the Moto X also has a very decent camera even in low light, and you won't be unhappy with that as well. So both cameras, happy to report guys, are decent enough whether it's low light or outside. They both are more than capable of giving you a very good high quality experience on both the cameras, and them days are gone where people had to actually struggle to pick a phone up because of the cameras. Most top end phones these days are coming up with good cameras. Even the cheaper Nexus 5X and the 6P both have a brilliant camera, and you'll be happy with both the phones. In this case, whichever you put, Moto X style or the Nexus 5X. Okay, now let's discuss the screen quality guys. This phone Nexus 5X comes with 5.2 full HD 1080p screen guys, and the Moto X style comes with 5.7 quad HD screen, which is also 2K or 2560 by 1440. Now in day-to-day use guys, you won't find much of a difference whether you're Facebooking, WhatsApping, tweeting or Instagram, whatever. Both screens are absolutely brilliant, and they get really, really bright. The brightness on the Moto X style is actually crazy bright. It gets a bit too much at max, so it might actually hurt your eyes. I normally keep it around 50%, and even then I'm very, very happy. Unless you're out and about in sun, then yes, you will need to rack up the Moto X style's brightness. But in both the phones guys, they both have IPS LCDs, and when I'm out and about, I have no issues in bright sunlight. Both phones give me a clear picture. On the Moto X style, the screen is slightly bit better because of the quad HD, and when you're looking at web pages and small little details like gaming and stuff, you will see a bit of difference on the quad HD screen. But in general, both screens are absolutely brilliant, and no problems whatsoever. The camera, I'm sorry guys, I didn't give a word earlier. I would say the camera would be tie. In low light, like I said, 5X is slightly better than the Moto X, but in day-to-day, in daylight, I think Moto X will probably take more detailed pictures, but Nexus 5 is not far behind as well. So camera-wise, I would say Moto X might be the winner in there. And as discussed about the screen, guys, I would give this again to Moto X because the screen on this is one of the best screens I've seen so far this year, and obviously it's a quad HD, so it wouldn't be fair to compare a quad HD with a full HD. But because we are comparing here both these phones, so I would give this one to a Moto X style again. Okay, now let's talk about battery life. Battery life is something on which Nexus have improved big time this year, guys. I have done a dedicated battery videos on both the Nexus 5X and the Moto X style, and what I would do is I'll provide you guys with a link down below under description, so you can watch dedicated battery performance videos on both the phones. In battery department, the Nexus 5X will give you a 4.5 to 5 hours of screen on time, depending on the way you use it. If you're going to be using camera a lot, GPS a lot, obviously like any phone, the battery will deplete a lot quicker as compared to Moto X style, guys. Because the phone has got a huge 5.7 quad HD screen and there's only a 3000 milliampere battery inside, then I'm afraid this phone might not give you the kind of battery life you would have expected. This normally has been giving me around 4 hours to 4.5 if you're using it moderately, but normally I'm staying close to 4, quarter past 4, or 4.5 hours with around 50% brightness. If you rack the brightness all the way up, guys, 80%, 90%, then the Moto X's display is a power hungry display, pixel dense, and it will eat the battery far more quicker. On the Nexus 5X, even if I tend to keep it around 90%, still the battery doesn't deplete as quick as it does on the Moto X, because like I said, of the quad HD screen. So in battery wise, I would say Nexus 5S normally been giving me about 4.5 to 5 hours, so there's a difference of about half an hour to 40 minutes between the two SOTs. I'm talking about this on Wi-Fi only, and the same ratio goes on to the mobile data side, 4G LTE as well. So you will see the same difference, about half an hour to about 45 minutes in mobile data as well. On 4G, this will give you about 3 hours, and this can give you around 3.5 to 3 hours, about 40 minutes or something like that. But I think despite Nexus 5X having a smaller battery at a 2700 milliampere battery, I think, guys, this is done well, much well, and that too is because of the marshmallow inside. Those are working very nicely, and Google have done some really good optimizations on the Nexus 5X to get a better battery life out of it. Nexus phones have traditionally always been the worst when it comes to battery life, but for the first time, guys, I can assure you that Nexus 5X has got a beautiful battery life, even so good that I've seen some battery results on the 6P, the bigger one, which has got a bigger battery, Nexus. Even the 5X is matching the 6P in some areas as well, in battery life especially, which is very, very nice. So this phone can easily give you 5 hours of screen on time, 4.5 to 5 hours, depending on how you use it. This is slightly on the weak side, but then again, both have this one has rapid charging, and the Moto X Style also has a Qualcomm's Quick Charge 2.0, so both can charge rapidly. If you're not too worried about the battery life, and you can easily find a socket during your day-to-day hours, guys, so both phones won't be giving you much of a problem. Now let's discuss the performance, guys. This one, the Moto X Style, comes with the Snapdragon 800 and 3 gigs of RAM. The Nexus 5X comes with the same Snapdragon 808 chipset. Sorry, I think I said 800. Sorry, guys. This comes with Snapdragon 808. Which is the hexa-core 64-bit chipset, along with 3 gigs of RAM, and the Nexus 5X comes with the same Snapdragon 808 along with 2 gigs of RAM. Now the 1 gig of RAM might not be too much on the paper, but from my day-to-day use, guys, I can tell at times when Nexus 5X is put under a bit of pressure, say you're doing multitasking and gaming, and you come out of the game and start playing music and track, this has the tendency to at times slow down. In day-to-day use, I think the Nexus 5X is slightly quicker than the Moto X Style because of the marshmallow bit inside. Marshmallow obviously helps, is more optimized for the hardware that's inside the phone as compared to the Moto X Style, guys. This is also quick, don't get me wrong, but because it has the Quad HD screen, the same Snapdragon 808 has to move more pixels, so at times it can be a bit slow. But don't get me wrong, guys, like I said, you can see in the video, it's not too bad. It's still very fast, very smooth, very efficient, but I think the Nexus 5X beats it in day-to-day performance. But when it comes to pushing, say, multitasking, or you playing game and playing music at the same time, you will see the Nexus 5X has the tendency at times to bog down. And I think I normally restart, give it a reboot after a week or so, just to refresh things up, because the memory really fills up really, really quick. So performance-wise, I would say in the normal day-to-day, I would give it to Nexus 5X. But it comes to heavy multitasking and gaming and stuff, I will have to give this one to the Moto X Style, especially for gaming, guys. Like you can see the games on the screen: Need for Speed, Dead Effect 2, Champions, Horse Racing. They all play superbly on the Moto X Style. They play good on the Nexus 5X as well, but the extra gig of RAM at times you can see the drop in frame rate and performance, and at times Nexus 5X will suffer. But day-to-day use, WhatsApping, emailing, Facebooking and stuff, you will have no problems whatsoever in the performance area of both the phones in general. Okay, now let's discuss the speakers, guys. This is one thing where the Moto X hands down completely throws the Nexus 5X out of the water. The Moto X has dedicated front-facing stereo speakers, guys, and they are extremely powerful. I've done a recent video and compared the speakers with the HTC One M8, and it also clearly won in that battle of front-facing speakers as well. Please do check my video out if you haven't so far. Let me do a quick speaker test, guys, in this video here. By the way, I have discussed this front speakers on Moto X already. Like I said, both speakers are front facing, and they are stereo speakers with some very powerful sound. On the Nexus 5X, guys, you can see there are two grills, a grill on top and a grill at the bottom, but unfortunately only one of the grills is speaker, which is the bottom grill. The top grill is for speakerphone, for making phone calls and stuff, and the bottom one is for sound. So let's quickly play this video, guys, and just give you an idea of what the sound difference between the two phones is. So first of all, let's play it on the Nexus 5X and see how it goes. Okay, let's do the same track on the Moto X, which is also on max volume. As you can see, guys, the speaker on the Nexus 5X is actually very weak. Even though it's front facing, so at least there's something in there. But when it comes to speaker, and if you're the sort of person who likes to watch a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, I think the Moto X will simply be an amazing experience, something which I haven't seen in any phone before. This even beats the HTC Boom sound. But all in all, at least we have a front facing speaker. It's more than enough for you to watch YouTube videos and stuff, guys. But if you're a music person, if you like to listen to, say, tracks on your speaker, and if you don't use headphones as much, then you will enjoy the Moto X style. On headphones, both the phones have got good sound. The Moto X has slightly better headphone quality as compared to Nexus 5X, but both doing a decent job. So here Moto X style clearly wins, guys, with as compared to the Nexus 5X. Okay, now a few things that I've noticed, guys, where the X is superior than the 5X. The Moto X has the SD card expansion. The phone comes with a 32 gig built-in memory, and you can expand the memory up to 128 gig, guys. I think maybe up to 1 terabyte, not too sure, but the SD card expandability is there. On the Nexus 5X, like always, guys, these phones never come with any SD card. This is the 16 gig version. Out of that, you'll probably be getting around 10 gig, but I would suggest to go for at least a 32 gig version. I can live with 16 gig, guys. It's not a problem because I'm just a basic user when it comes to installing apps only. I do a lot of multitasking and stuff, but when it comes to storage and media, I normally use my cloud services, Google Cloud and things like that, so I'm not that worried about the internal storage. But for most people out there, I know you guys don't prefer 16 gig, so what I would say is go for at least the 32 gig version, and out of that you're probably likely to get around 25 or 24 gigs or 23 gigs or something like that. At least you'll have some decent space for your tracks and your videos and stuff, or whatever you need. So guys, all in all, both phones are excellent. I've been enjoying both phones greatly. Both have a decent battery life. Both have, in general, a good performance. An Nexus 5 tends to bog down at times a bit if you push it to the limit, but in general, day-to-day use is no problem at all for the 5X whatsoever. Moto X style performance is absolutely brilliant. Might not be as snappy as this, but when it comes to taking multitasking and overload, this can take it slightly better than the Nexus 5X. Screen quality, guys, like I said, Quad HD 1080p. There's no comparison, but then again, for most people, it won't be a problem. Like I said, if you're doing day-to-day stuff, there'll be no issues whatsoever. One thing which I would also like to mention, guys, is the LED light. Now on the Moto X style, I do not find any LED. I'm so used to having LED notification light on phones. On the Nexus 5X, you have the LED notification light inside the bottom speaker, which is brilliant. Say if you're taking a shower, or you come from outside and your phone was indoors, you want to have a quick look at your phone, you can actually see the notification light on the Nexus 5X. There's no notification light on the Moto X style. But the Moto X Style does have an ambient display, which is it's got the special sensor there, one at the top and two at the bottom. If you move your hand across when the phone is on standby, it will lighten up and it will show you if you got any missed calls, emails or text messages. On the Nexus 5X, they also have the ambient display, but they also have the added ability to have your notification light, which I think is a must in any phone these days. I think the Moto X Play and the Moto X Style both don't have any notification light, and I don't know why Motorola didn't put it for some reason. Maybe because the sensor, whatever the reason was, but is something which I absolutely don't like, and I would have wished that they had this installed on the phone. Also, the Moto X has the front-facing flash, guys, which I'll be discussing in my full review, and it does help a lot. 5 megapixel at the front on the Moto X, also 5 megapixel on the Nexus 5X. So both cameras on front-facing are good, but obviously the LED light will help you in low light if you're taking into selfies. So guys, this was pretty much all I wanted to discuss on the phones. Both phones are decent, guys, but at the end of the day, it all depends. If you want a phone with a powerful set of speakers, Quad HD screen, and you want a powerful camera, then this is the phone to go for. If you want the latest updates on Android, Marshmallow, you want to stay ahead of the curve, and you want something cheap and not too expensive, then obviously Nexus 5X is a good choice. But in terms of raw power, they're almost one and the same, not much of a difference. So guys, like always, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comment section. And like always, guys, please subscribe as it helps, and I will see you in the next video.